Morning, folks. This is Deb. You know, I came up with the subject of this video after watching an interview with Judge Ludwig on MSNBC the other night. You'll remember him from the J6 committee hearings. His testimony was huge. And keep in mind that this man has been a conservative Republican all his life. And during the interview the other night, he openly stated that policy issues aside, he is fully behind the Harris-Walz ticket. He will be voting for Kamala Harris in November. And that is the subject of this video. The subject of this video is how this election is not about policy or issues. This election has one focus, and that is saving American democracy, period. You know, we've been saying this for a long time. And here we are, we've come full circle now to another election cycle. And pretty much in the time that we first uttered these words, and that was back when Joe Biden first announced his candidacy again, okay? And we've been talking about it since then, and we can see now, it should be very clear to all Americans that there is no future for democracy in this country if Donald Trump is elected. The Republican Party has long since thrown democracy out the window in favor of authoritarian rule. And we must not allow that to happen. So if a guy like Judge Ludwig can put aside policy issues, okay, if the Republican politicians who showed up at the Democratic Party convention can put aside policy issues and vote for Kamala Harris, like Adam Kinzinger, then the American people who are Democrats can certainly stop quibbling over who's progressive enough as we roll down this election cycle, because that is pure bullshit. And I see it happening again. We lost in Colorado 2 more years of Lauren Boebert because Adam Frisch wasn't progressive enough. So some people didn't bother to vote. He lost by 500 votes. We understand that we lost a seat to George Santos the same way in New York. We cannot repeat these mistakes. These are mistakes, by the way, because you will never have a candidate that you agree with 100% on. It is not possible. Okay? We have people who have flaws because perfection is not a human option. And the Dalai Lama said that one, and he is absolutely right. So we are always going to have to be civically engaged. But this election, let me make this clear one more time, is not about policy issues and grievances you may have with a candidate. This election, there is only one goal, and that is to make sure that Donald Trump does not return to the Oval Office and that we remove as many people as possible who have been complicit in standing behind him and pushing an anti-democracy agenda. Steve Schmidt, who is another lifelong Republican, this is what he said, and he said this quite a while ago. And we actually had this on our group banner for many months. The party of Trump must be obliterated, annihilated, destroyed, and all of the collaborators, the complicit enablers, the school of cowards need to go down, end quote. This isn't just about Donald Trump. Candidates like Jim Jordan, candidates like Rick Scott, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, all of their seats are available to us. All of them are sitting on the bubble. I heard this morning that Tammy Wilson in Ohio is tied with Jim Jordan. This is a golden opportunity with a Harris-Walz ticket to clear these people out of our government and to save democracy. You are not voting in November as a Democrat. You are voting as an American. Republicans who showed up at the Democratic Party convention and encouraged their constituents to vote Democratic this cycle understand that they're not voting as Republicans. They're voting as Democrats. They're voting as Democrats even for one election, because they know what has to happen. They're voting as Americans ultimately. And we must do the same thing. Listen, you know, I know people don't think about this, and it's probably because I worked for the Human Rights Campaign in the 80s and 90s, but I had the assignment of being the coordinator for the 6th Congressional District on the North Shore. And I had to engage with a Republican representative. And he was a 53% voter on gay issues when I first took over the district. And we got him up to 83%. So engaging with people does work. It is work, but it does work. But that didn't stop us from getting rid of him the next cycle and electing John Tierney up there, who was a Democrat. What I'm saying is the government needs to be powered by the people. And you do that in a voting booth. You don't do that by breaking into the Capitol. That's for the other side. Okay? We need to come out in force to save American democracy so that we can deal with the issues we have. Because I promise you, under Donald Trump, all of the problems we have now will only be compounded. Donald Trump's policies are Project 2025, no matter how hard he tries to distance himself from that. He cannot. He must not be allowed to do that. That's gaslighting of the highest order. His fingers are all over it. People who worked for him wrote it, and they intend to use it. There are people in other countries watching how we are handling this here. There are other leaders who have expressed hope that the American people will rise to the occasion because they know their lives get harder too if America falls here. And if America falls here, don't think we're just going to vote it out again the next time around. There will be no next time around. Donald Trump does not have any intention of allowing another election if he is placed in the White House in November. Everybody needs to pull it together and vote as Americans in November, not as partisan members of the Republican or the Democratic Party. This is on us now. We must not fail. We must not fail ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, our friends, our neighbors, and the rest of the world. I'll talk to you all later.